The victory at Salamis was an expulsion, not an annihilation. When King Xerxes retreated to Asia, he left behind his finest general, Mardonius, and a massive, intact land army. Perhaps 100,000 men, Persians, Medes, Scythians, and Greek allies, remained to complete the conquest. Mardonius wintered in Thessaly, consolidating his strength, fully expecting the coming year to yield him the final victory. In the spring, Mardonius tried to win by guile. He marched back into Attica and seized the ruins of Athens for a second time. Then, he offered the Athenians a magnificent prize. He would rebuild their burned city, compensate their losses, and make them autonomous allies, subservient only to the Achaemenid Empire. He sought to break the fragile Greek coalition, isolating the Spartans and their Peloponnesian allies. But the Athenians, led by the steadfast Aristides, had not forgotten the flames of their temples. They were impoverished refugees. Their city was a smoking ruin, and the offer was tempting, the promise of peace and wealth. Yet, they refused. They would not trade freedom for gold. They sent a message back to Mardonius and the Spartan envoys who had feared their betrayal. So long as the sun follows the path he now pursues, we will never make terms with Xerxes. This decision, the rejection of peace with subjugation, galvanized Greece. The Spartans, shamed into action, finally committed their full military power. The stage was set for the final, bloody showdown, a battle that would decide whether Europe would be free or ruled from the heart of Persia. All of Greece understood the stakes. This time, the allies were not few. They were numerous and unified. Nearly 40,000 Greek hoplites, heavy infantry, gathered in Boeotia, a landscape of rolling plains framed by rugged mountains. This was the largest army ever assembled by the Greeks, committed to fighting for Hellenic soil and liberty. They were led by the Spartan Regent Pausanias, a man of royal blood but untested in a battle of this scale. Though he was younger and less experienced than many Athenian commanders, the Greeks acknowledged the legendary authority of Sparta. The Spartans marched at the head of the Dorian forces on the right flank. The Athenians, led by Aristides, took the place of honor on the left. The armies faced each other for 11 tense days, a nerve-wracking standoff. Mardonius commanded a vast force of cavalry, which allowed him to harass the Greeks, blocking their supply lines and poisoning their morale. Persian arrows and skirmishes made every Greek move perilous. Pausanias, though outnumbered in total, knew his hoplites were the superior fighting force, but he could not risk them on the open plains against the devastating Persian horsemen. He needed to draw Mardonius into rougher, more favorable terrain near the foothills of Mount Kithaeron. The tension broke when Mardonius's cavalry finally severed the Greek access to the vital Gargaffian spring and polluted their river supply. The entire Greek army was dehydrated and running low on food. Forced by necessity, Pausanias ordered a complex, nighttime maneuver to shift their position closer to the town of Plataea, securing a new, defensible water source. The relocation was a disaster. Under the cover of darkness, the movements were clumsy and disjointed. Units lost contact, orders were misunderstood, and the massive army effectively fragmented. A general named Amampharatus, refusing to follow orders he deemed a cowardly retreat, even caused a deliberate delay. The Athenians moved to the left, the Spartans and Tegeans retreated toward a hill, and a crucial, exploitable gap opened in the center. When dawn broke, Mardonius looked out and saw a sight he could scarcely believe. The mighty Greek army was in disarray, its right flank apparently in full retreat, its center wide open. He believed the Greeks were finally breaking, retreating in panic, just as Themistocles had once tricked Xerxes into believing at Salamis. He saw his chance. "They are running," Mardonius declared, and he ordered a massive, immediate charge. The Persian cavalry and the entire infantry force, including the elite immortals, streamed across the Asopus River and poured into the fragmented Greek center. The Persian charge hit the largest remaining Greek contingent, the Spartans and the Tegeans, who had been isolated during the chaotic retreat. Pausanias had no time to coordinate with the Athenians. He was forced to fight alone, and his hoplites stood on ground they had not chosen, against an enemy they had hoped to avoid. The Persians hurled a terrifying volley of arrows, inflicting heavy casualties on the exposed Greek lines. The Spartans, drilled since boyhood in the agoge, held their ground. They endured the stinging arrows, refusing to break ranks, waiting for the command. Pausanias offered a desperate final prayer to the gods. Finally, seeing his formations begin to waver, Pausanias gave the order. Charge! The Persians, fighting with short spears, light wicker shields, and less protective armor, were no match for the crushing, disciplined weight of the Dorian phalanx. The Spartans slammed into the enemy line, shield to shield, driving their long spears into the dense Persian formations. It was a grinding, visceral, close-quarters fight. The Greeks fought with an irresistible force, and the battle was quickly decided when they saw him, Mardonius, mounted on a white charger, surrounded by the elite immortals, attempting to rally his men and lead a countercharge. A Spartan, Mnestis, and his men cut through the bodyguards and speared Mardonius. The Persian general fell from his horse. The moment Mardonius fell, the entire Persian-led army shattered. Without their general, their cause, and their commander, the vast non-Greek contingents panicked and fled the field. The remaining Greek forces, including the Athenians who had finally arrived to secure the flank, chased the retreating enemy. A final, fierce battle occurred at the massive fortified Persian camp, which the Greeks eventually breached. The slaughter inside was total. The victory at Plataea was secured that day, a final, comprehensive triumph that expelled the last great Persian army from Greek soil. By an incredible coincidence, on the very same day, the remaining Persian fleet was destroyed in another battle at Mycale in Asia Minor. The sea and the land victories were total and simultaneous. The Greeks gathered the immense spoils of war. They set aside a tenth of the treasures to dedicate to the gods, creating monuments that celebrated their unity in the face of tyranny. The serpent column, forged from the melted-down shields of the Persians, was erected at Delphi as a lasting testament to the League of Free States. The Battle of Plataea secured the final safety of Greece. It cemented Sparta's dominance as the premier land power and allowed Athens to rebuild its city, its navy, and its confidence, ushering in the golden age of Greek civilization. The tide of empire rolled back, not to return again for centuries. The men who died at Plataea did not die in a glorious last stand. They died securing a triumphant future. They created a frontier that defined the West and allowed the flowering of democracy, philosophy, and art, a foundation that continues to shape the world.